At least 10% of people infected with the coronavirus responsible for severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV-2, will develop long-term COVID, a potentially disabling illness. Many organ systems are affected by the over 200 symptoms that have been documented. An estimated 65 million people around the globe are living with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and that number rises every day. Biomedical studies have made great strides in identifying pathophysiological changes and risk factors, as well as characterizing the illness. Similarities with other viral onset diseases like myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, and postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome have also paved the way for study in this area. This review examines the current literature and summarizes major findings, including the overlap with various illnesses, the varying onset of symptoms, the lengthy course of COVID in children, and the impact of immunizations. This research is essential to our understanding of extended COVID, but current diagnostic and therapy options fall short. Thus, it is imperative that clinical studies focus on answering the most promising theories. In addition, future studies to strengthen extended COVID research should take into consideration biases and SARS-CoV-2 testing difficulties, expand on viral onset research, include all underrepresented populations, and meaningfully engage patients throughout the study process. Infection with the coronavirus that causes severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV-2, can cause a multi-system disease known as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. More than 651 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported to date. This number is likely much higher due to many unreported cases, bringing the total number of people with extended COVID to at least 65 million worldwide. It is expected that between 10 and 30% of outpatients and 50 and 70% of inpatients will be affected. 2, 3, and 10 to 12% of vaccinated cases, 4, 5. The majority of COVID-19 instances occur in non-hospitalized patients with moderate acute illness, 6. Nevertheless, protracted COVID is related to all ages and acute phase disease severities. The highest frequency of diagnoses occurs between the ages of 36 and 50. There are dozens of symptoms affecting different organ systems in many patients, and hundreds of biological discoveries have been recorded. Fig. 1. Cardiovascular, thrombotic, and cerebrovascular disease 8. Type 2 diabetes, myalgic encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue syndrome, and dysautonomia, especially postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, are all common new onset illnesses in those with long COVID. It is expected that new onset cases of ME, CFS, and dysautonomia will have lifetime symptoms. 14. Symptoms can persist for years. Substantial numbers of people with lengthy COVID are unable to return to the workforce. 7, and this is a factor in the growing labor shortages. 15. No treatments have been shown to be successful so far. There's more where that came from, so stick around. You can find critiques of today's news on YouTube and at www.newstoday.nyc.